two in 1 day, guys. We have 2 lives in 1 day. This is in-season level IT stuff we've got going on. This is Inside Texas. Welcome to our second live of the day. We're going to be talking about Sark's press conference, some team news, a little bit of look ahead at what we got going on with Colorado State. But before we do, as things are going on with Inside Texas, we wanted to let you know that we have an amazing offer right now. We are offering 50% off our annual rate. So that's 50% off the membership. If you use the promo code KICKOFF24, you'll get all the depth charts, team reports, opponent analysis, the latest recruiting news, and more, all 50% off. It's the best membership value. It's $5, $4.99 a month, and it's billed annually. So sign up today, use the promo code KICKOFF24, and save instantly. It's the best stuff. It's what we've got to offer, guys. So, and welcome. This is the Inside Texas group. We've got Ian, Paul, and Eric with us today. We had a press conference, week 1 press conference from Sark. This is probably the most, I don't know, it's hard to say, but like maybe the most joyous head coaching press conference I've seen in a while. Like going in, the guy's happy, he's smiling, he's excited that football's back. I'm excited that football's back. But he's pretty positive about the leadership and the culture of the team, Eric. He was talking a lot about the diversity in leadership. It's not just a couple guys now, it's a lot of the guys.
Yeah, that caught both my attention and Ian's attention. It's, kind of ties back to the old adage of if you have a lot of leaders, you don't have any leaders. And that, that's a time-honored adage for a reason. That we've heard that a lot, especially in the old days of Mac Brown, the last few seasons of Mac Brown. Oh, there's leaders everywhere. And then the first time adversity hits, the whole team crumbles. A week later, they're having a players-only meeting, the infamous players-only meeting, which was a standard fare for late-stage Mac. Charlie Strong had that as well, and then Tom Herman even. So I'm a little bit concerned about that, except for I do really have a decent pulse of the team, and the culture is very strong. But they have a lot of people that haven't played for them before that are going to have key roles this season. A lot of the wide receivers. Makuba. You don't think there's going to be an issue there, but is there a Byron Murphy? Is there Jordan Whittington? I don't really see those guys. Barron Sorrell's pretty good. Anthony Hill has it in him. David Bend is solid, but I don't know that there's just a Jalen Ford as another missed leadership. There's going to be some guys that haven't been tested before as far as their teammates looking up to them and holding everybody accountable. And when they struggle for a game or a half, they're going to have to respond adequately. And we don't really know who those leaders are. We know Quinn is not all that vocal. He's been more vocal than in the past. So I'm keeping an eye on that one. I'll just say that for when they're struggling in the second half versus Michigan, if that's the case, do they come out firing? Are they playing together? We'll see. That's to be determined.
Ian, you wrote about this a little bit, yeah.
I don't know if it needs to be this way, but historically at Texas, if there's not 1 or 2 guys that everyone on the team is kind of afraid of, it usually is a less good season. Like Murphy, if Murphy is saying something to people, they're listening. Brian Arakpo back in the day, Lamar Houston.
Terrifying. Yep.
Yeah, just often defensive linemen are great at this. Usually offensive linemen can be great too. Big, scary guys that impose a standard and enforce it with code reds if necessary, That seems to be what usually good winning looks like at Texas, is when you have guys on the team that'll do that. And it could be that Sark doesn't want to single anyone out. It could be that there are guys like that and there's too many to name, or I don't know. But yeah, me and Eric both, I'm curious to hear what Paul thinks about this, but me and Eric both heard that and we're like, would rather have heard that there was, someone like Roshan just that's getting up and being like, this is not going to be tolerated, You
need Byron and Roshan up on that wall. Deep in your heart, in places you don't like to think about, you need them on that wall. With respect to Colonel Jessup, that's kind of what you need. Sometimes Colonel Jessup didn't have to order the code red. His men just did it. He covered it up. That was the problem. So, I think that ultimately that's correct. I mean, we know that about Texas, but leaders also emerge organically. Practice is practice. Games are another thing. And there are some guys who just make plays in games, or they're really cool and have a great demeanor in a really tense moment and deliver. And that's a form of leadership as well, right? There's chatty Cathys who, come on, guys. Hey, if that guy goes out and plays poorly, he's a blowhard. Everyone ignores him. That's not a leader. And then there's guys who don't say a word, and they go out and throw 3 touchdowns and get hit right as they're releasing the last one and get knocked down, and they pop right up and walk off the field. That's a leader. Guys rally to that. So, yeah, there's leadership in action and there's leadership in word. And, you want both, like a Roschon Johnson, but sometimes you just get one. And we'd prefer leadership in action. And that's only going to happen during the season.
There's a great book. There's a great book called The Captain Class by Sam Walker that I recommend to all sports fans. And he takes a look at the greatest dynasties in team sports over the years. So it's like the Yogi Berra Yankees, a couple of New Zealand rugby teams, a couple of Premier League, Champions League teams. They just had historic runs of success. And they all were defined by having a team captain that exhibited certain leadership traits. So some of the famous team captains were like Tim Duncan of the Spurs, Bill Russell of the Celtics, Yogi Berra of those Yankees, and they were
Paw Patrol.
Yeah,
exactly.
Johnny Manziel at A&M.
they were often guys. Actually, they weren't necessarily get out in front guys, but they were lead by example, leaders behind the scenes, water carriers, always doing all the little things. So it's totally possible that Texas has guys like that, and Sark didn't mention them. But anyway, everyone should read that book. It's a terrific sports book.
So before we move any forward, we want to thank one of our sponsors today, Luxe. This video is brought to you by Luxe Kitchen and Bath. Luxe has been offering high-end kitchen and bathroom remodels for 3 generations throughout the greater Austin area, with 5-star review after 5-star review on Google and Facebook, and an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau. You can put your faith in Luxe Kitchen and Bath's award-winning designers and skilled craftspeople to bring to life that dream vision of your special home. But that's not all. Luxe's all-star team provides full remodels, large additions, and even commercial build-outs as well. So call Luxe Kitchen and Bath at 833-358-LUXE today. Or visit luxekitchenbath.com to discover where quality meets luxury and begin the process of transforming your home. Get a free quote today by calling 833-358-LUXE. That's LUXE. Or by visiting luxekitchenbath.com. Link in the description. Is this one of those cases where everything looks to be going well, and you guys are very objective people, but you're also Texas fans, and I'm wondering if that's not bleeding into this a little bit? I mean, is it because we really don't have other things to criticize that we're kind of like pinpointing on this thing, or is this I guess my question here is, because I do value your objectivity, what is on a rating of 1 to 10, how much of a worry is this for you? Start with you, Eric.
The deal, this is a good point. If we were breaking in 5 new O-line starters,
right,
and Quinn's last scrimmage, he threw 4 consecutive picks, that's what we'd be talking about. We wouldn't be talking about, who's the vocal leader, who's the alpha. I mean, that's stuff you do when you're trying to determine whether a team's going to go 9-3 or 11-1 in the regular season, right?
Yeah.
We were having conversations 3 years ago, like, if one of our edges was unblocked, could he still get a sack?
Right. Yeah.
And the answer was no.
Right.
So, yeah, these are different conversations because we have different expectation levels.
Yeah, I will say that this time of year, this week, game week before the first game, I'm really trying to figure out, what did I miss? What's going to avail itself this season that we didn't cover in August? Usually, sometimes that's good stuff, sometimes that's bad stuff. And I'm just trying to figure out, what's out there that I haven't accounted for. And, sometimes you just need games to reveal any issues. It's going to test the team in a lot of different ways than practice will. But that's what this week is for. And when I get a source on the phone on Thursday, usually that last update before the season, I'm covering, hey, what might we have missed if things go sideways, they don't reach their goals? What could have been the contributing factors for that? But yeah, all these questions are fair. We need to, we don't know this team as well as we think we do, just because, last year we didn't think they'd have struggles in the red zone. I mean, they had good coverage from their safeties 2 years ago, and then it was poor last year at times. And so, we don't really know until the season starts, but that's what this week is for, is trying to figure out what we missed.
But before we move on to our opponent in week 1, we had a new RPM today, Eric. Why don't you tell us about that?
Yeah, I put one in for Myron Charles, defensive tackle out of Port Charlotte, Florida. One of the 4 or 5 most talented guys Texas, I think, has been after this entire cycle. Just an awesome force up front. I liken him to Lance Jackson and Nick Townsend and Jonah Williams, where they're just, for their position, they're just big and athletic. And they have the baseline traits to be special, not just good, not just NFL draft picks, but special. Texas has to overcome Florida State. Last year, one of my biggest regrets of last cycle was not putting in a prediction for Texas to get Wardell Mack after Utah slapped Florida around. I even joked around with it with some people, and I was so close to doing it. I felt kind of bad about it, kicking Florida while they're down. But I should have put that RPM in and I didn't. This year I'm going to do it, man. I think Myron Charles. I like Texas's posture with Myron Charles before he picked Florida State. It was funny. He picked Florida State. Well, it wasn't funny at the time. It was funny now. He picked Florida State the same day that Josiah Sharma picked Oregon. Texas was able to flip Sharma. I just think, I don't think his heart was ever in that commitment. But we'll see. It's a long way to go. Texas needs defensive tackles. And I always say the more they need something, the better it is. The more likely it is they get it.
It's been hilarious. It's been hilarious with Florida State the last few days. The national media, it's like a memo went out to all the national media, and they're all saying, like, patting Florida State on the head, and they're like, hey, guys, you're not out of the playoffs yet. We have a new system. You could lose a couple of games and still make it. It's going to be okay. It's like the national media and the television executives have collective guilt over leaving Florida State out last year when they were undefeated, which was the right call, obviously, because they would have gotten smoked.
Yeah, it was the right call.
Yeah, I mean, like the whole notion that Florida State had earned the right to lose 34-3 in the first round to Michigan
Right.
and basically give Michigan a bye and allow 3 of their coaches to be assigned to Washington and Texas for the next game. It's just, and by the way that Florida State fans handled that, whatever sympathy I might have had naturally just as a fan went away really fast. So actually seeing them get outcoached and outplayed by Georgia Tech and also winning money on the money line was extra sweet.
Yeah, that it's going to be really interesting to see how it all plays out with Norvell and Florida State. I don't think he loves being there, but they might not love having him there if he's going to lose to Georgia Tech.
Didn't he just sign a 10-year deal though, or something crazy?
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting to see how it plays out, man. And I've never been a believer in DJU. Going back to high school, I wasn't sold on him. Yeah.
Hey, on Myron Charles, I'm trying to keep an even keel on these recruits and not even get too involved or engaged with them, because we're going to have – it's just a new world of recruiting. And those of you who are living and dying in like July and June with what happens, there's going to be a lot more drama coming. Like, I assure you, Texas is going to get theirs. But I watch Myron Charles. We need that guy on campus.
Yeah.
Paul,
he is
we
a
have
guy.
a question
He's a
about
dude.
your skincare routine, if you wouldn't mind, because you are he is actually 74. He just really does a good job of taking care of himself.
Yeah, but I have the soul of a 74-year-old.
It's the mountain air.
That's it. It's the mountain air. Before that, it was the ocean air. Any kind of air.
You're a big proponent of air.
I just think air is vital. A lot of people say air is not a big deal. I just think it's vital to living.
Yeah.
If he takes off the hat, he's actually bald underneath, and then he shows his age a little more.
I only have hair here, and then it exactly follows the contour of my hat. No,
Wow.
Actually, I have too much hair. My hair grows too fast. I
Okay, go off.
get haircuts unlike Ian. Ian just keeps combing it to the side until he has a little ponytail.
Yeah, I got a ponytail hidden in the back.
It's down to your belt line. Is that correct?
That's right.
Yeah.
You ever remember Crystal Gale?
Sure.
Yeah.
That's Ian.
Eric, you wrote, and again, we don't want to give anything too much away here at InsideTexas.com, but we're basically giving it away with this promo. It is Kickoff 24, 50% off. Hit that if you can. But This is, Eric, I really enjoy your writing, but this is one of my favorite sentences to get you excited about a player. Charles would be one of the most naturally awesome players in the class. The idea of just being naturally awesome suggests, I don't know, something really organic about it that I appreciate.
Yeah, he rolls out of the bed, and you don't want to try to have to block him or cover him, or like I said, Lance Jackson has it, Nick Townsend has it. They're grown men, and they move unfairly for their size. Jonah Williams, go watch him move at 6'3", 205 pounds. It's just unfair. These guys are, from a talent standpoint, they're can't misses. Now, that's why I always talk about the mental eval, because there are some supremely gifted guys that do miss because they don't work or whatever. And Paul has astutely mentioned how a lot of defensive tackles wash out. One thing that's very encouraging is we have not seen much of that at Texas at all. They stuck with some guys that underperformed for a while, got them playing at a very high level. I think that's a good sell for Texas. But yeah, naturally awesome it's really tough to screw that guy up. All he has to do is work moderately hard, average, and he'll be in the league. Feel very confident about that. He bends too well. He's explosive. He's big. It's just really unfair. And you could probably say Josiah Sharma is like that, the defensive tackle they have committed right now. I really love the eval. I think On3 has him in the number 58. When I first saw his film, I couldn't believe his rating. I always watched the film first, thought he was a top 50 guy in the nation. Wasn't going to pay much attention to it, him being from Florida. And On3 has him 58. Everybody else has him, in the hundreds and 200s. I don't really get it. If you watch the tape, he's pretty obviously a no-brainer elite talent.
One of the elite talents that we'll be seeing this week at Colorado State is a wide receiver. And I invite you to check out one of the roundtables Paul and I did a couple weeks ago, where we broke down some non-conference opponents and what it means for Texas. And obviously, we've got a deep dive coming up this week with Paul and Ian, where I invite you again to hit subscribe, hit that bell so you know when new things are coming out. But you guys are going to be doing a heavy breakdown later in the week with our future opponent at Colorado State. But I'm just curious, Paul, 30,000 foot view. What are we looking at here against Colorado State? What do you expect to see in terms of our game plan? I mean, I got the sense from Sark today that Sark's going to run his offense and going to see where everybody is with that. But what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think the part we're probably not talking about is the Colorado defense against our offense. So Colorado State is really going to struggle to rush the passer. And given the proclivity for the UT offensive line to already be very good at pass protection, and they've got a ton of experience, that does not bode well for them. So I'm not sure what they're going to do. They're going to throw a loop at us. I mean, they want to do something different. They also, and I think this does probably jibe with another question that entered the chat, is they're going to save some stuff for Colorado as well. The difference between us and Colorado, of course, is that we can run the ball. Colorado probably can't, or at least hasn't proven that they can. So CSU is going to throw us for a loop, but they may save their most interesting stuff for the Buffaloes, because if you don't know, that is going to be their Super Bowl. It's at Fort Collins. They've geared their entire season ticket packages around that game. And it's going to be their Super Bowl. So they're going to save some stuff for that. They're certainly going to roll out something novel for us just to see if they can give us a problem. If we just drop back and execute at a baseline level, we should move up and down the field offensively. On the other side of the ball, look, Colorado State has got an NFL receiver in Torrey Horton. Everyone knows about that now if you've been reading about it inside Texas. The other guy that I think people may not know about is Armani Winfield, transferred in there from Baylor. He's a former Texas commit. You guys may remember that name. And he's impressed there. He's a 6'3" guy, 205. He actually caught a couple of balls against us last year in that blowout of Baylor. And then their third guy is a guy named Dylan Goffney. He's a transfer from SMU. He's about 215. He is a possession receiver, good blocker, and a power guy. He's a guy that catches it. And then after the catch, he tries to bully a smaller corner and gain some yards. The quarterback, Braden Fowler-Nicolosi, is a Texas product, like so many of these guys that we're going to be playing on the schedule. He's a pretty good quarterback. He has to drop back and throw to a spot, though, quickly, because the Colorado State offensive line is not going to hold up against our pass rush. So Colorado State's going to be a timing-based passing offense. They're going to throw to spots. If our secondary has improved in its coaching and talent and field IQ, guys throwing to spots on predetermined routes is a recipe for turnovers. And so we need to actually make a play on the freaking ball and not just stand there with our thumbs in an orifice.
A couple things real quick. Goffney was Connor Wegman's wide receiver at Ridgeland. I liked him quite a bit coming out of high school. I thought he was a steal for SMU. Long speed is the issue, as Paul mentions. And Nicolosi was a turnover machine last year. They like to throw it over the middle of the field, and he's got some decision-making issues that Texas might be able to take advantage of. And Armani Winfield was actually Steve Sarkisian's first commitment. I believe he committed before Sark even arrived. He was coaching against Ohio State, and I think Winfield committed via halftime or during halftime, if memory serves. So there's a lot of Texas kids on that roster, like Paul said. It's going to be interesting. I think it's a perfect tune-up, Paul. Do you think it's a perfect tune-up?
Yeah, I think it's great. I love that we're playing them. That's the perfect level of opponent. Just enough challenge that actually guys will pay attention and put out some effort, and then not enough challenge that you're going to get upset at home if you're looking ahead to Michigan. Which look, the players are human beings, and they're looking ahead to Michigan.
Get us your questions. Get us your super chats. We really appreciate that. We're going to start answering those questions after we hear a brief word from our sponsor. I'm just going to say, guys, you probably need a fiduciary financial advisor, and I've got the guy for you. His name is David McClellan with Forum Financial. He works broadly and deeply with his clients as a financial life coach, and he should know something about coaching because he won several national championships as a swimmer for the University of Texas. He specializes in financial planning and has contributed numerous articles to Kipling on the topic of retirement tax bombs. So contact David today to be your fiduciary financial planner and schedule a 1-hour consultation to assess your financial situations. The free consultation is available, so just give him a call. The number is 312-933-8823. That's 312-933-8823. His email is also in the description below. One of the things that Sark was really on today during the press conference was just the number ones, the number twos, even getting the number threes in there. He really wants to get players in. And I know that there were times, certainly last year, when that was also the objective. But as he pointed out, we had 8 games that were closer than they maybe should have been going into that. So with that in mind, considering that we're viewing Colorado State as the perfect warm up, and not to use that as a pejorative, but it is, we're getting ready for things. What do you see in terms of stumbling blocks just coming out of the gate here, Ian, if there are any? I mean, obviously Sark hit on some of those, which were just mistakes that could be made, but what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, he mentioned Torrey Horton in particular. You don't want to let that guy get loose and score a couple touchdowns. And then, God forbid, maybe your own offense is struggling with a novel look or just shaking some rust off, and before you know it, you're in a game like the Wyoming game, right? The Wyoming game was kind of like that, where they were struggling with Wyoming's run game. Wyoming had some 3-eye defense that was giving them trouble. And then I think Texas ended up winning that game by like 3 or 4 scores or something. But up until they did that thunderstruck moment and the stadium went off, and I think the turn of the third to the fourth quarter, right? And then like Xavier Worthy scored in a play, and they scored another big play, and they put him away. But it was a little bit dicey there for a minute. So I think that's kind of what I mean. I think Colorado State's roster is also kind of similar to Wyoming's, maybe a little more skillful. But these competitive Mountain West teams are kind of have a similar bent, and that'd be the worst case scenario. Is not really that bad, but there it is.
Oh, it's that bad. The worst case scenario is that bad. It'll be that bad on the game thread. It'll be that bad all over the board. It'll be bad. Rice was terrible last year. People thought I was absolutely nuts for picking a win over Alabama. But that's what I'm looking. Just play a clean game. Just execute. No stupid penalties. Don't allow any big plays. No busts. Just play assignment sound. Execute properly. They should get out with a clean win. But they are going to play a lot of players. We wrote the depth chart this morning. Our projected depth chart. It's not the official UT depth chart. And there's just talent everywhere. You see, Javion Cole is likely a third-string cornerback behind Kobe Black, and he's. We know he's a pretty solid college player. We've got college film of him. It's a really deep team. They're going to play a lot, but when you're playing younger players and inexperienced players, they tend to make mistakes, and the game could end up being closer than we'd like. But Sark is playing the long game. He always plays the long game. We have to use the information we gathered last year to inform us this year. He's worried about playing or being healthy in January more so than blowing out Colorado State by 40. That's why I think people betting on Texas early in the season are nuts.
Paul, you're not betting on Texas early in the season, are you?
I need the line to go down a little more.
Okay.
But Texas is not a fun team to bet on because it gets inflated and there's like a lot of opinions and public just wagon training on Texas. So I'm not. I don't. This line would have to go down a little bit more for me to bet.
Okay, but what's this about a prospectus?
What?
Yeah, what is that?
Wow, that's a great question, Eric. Almost like not a setup. He's talking about this. If I can get it to camera, the 2024 Longhorn Football Prospectus, the best guide and analysis of the Texas Longhorns and the SEC and all of our opponents and a bunch of other think pieces and the fun, interesting stuff. It's like 55,000 words. You can get it right now on Amazon, Smashwords, Apple, and there's still time to get it in your hot hand and let it be your guide for the season. So thanks for letting me plug it.
I had a couple speaking engagements last Thursday, and I was cramming the night before. Not so much the Texas information. Yeah, I like it. Paul's writing is fun to read always. Kind of reinforces some thoughts I had. It makes me think about some others. But what I like about it most is it's a way to get informed on the SEC. I don't sit there and watch the SEC all day, every day. I will be now, but before I haven't. So I think that, to me, the greatest value of all was just getting a familiarity with each team on the schedule. It's really good work.
Well, let's move over to a couple of these questions. We'll try to get to as many of these as we can. If you do have questions, please throw them in the chat. If you want to guarantee that Ian will answer a question, go ahead and throw in a super chat. The weirder, the better. The first one is, we had, obviously, with the exceptions of some very notable players and injuries, it was a relatively healthy camp. Is there anything that really hasn't been reported on that is of worth note going into this, Eric?
Yeah, this is not going to be one of my normal weekly features talking about injuries.
No.
They know the running backs are out. Freddie DuBose, I don't think he'll play. He's a true freshman that probably wasn't going to play anyway. They're deep at wide receiver. Other than that, I don't really know about any injuries. It was a relatively healthy camp for every position other than running back.
Do you and Ian, we're getting some questions already, obviously, about your secondary passion in life, obviously your family, and then the Oklahoma Sooners. So we'll get to those in a second. But we got a couple really. You talk about watching SEC games. We have two really good games this weekend outside of the Texas game. The first one is that Notre Dame A&M game, and then we've got Clemson and Georgia, which could also be fun. So. This is coming in from Mr. Buchorgan. What are our thoughts here? Ian, who do you have in this one, A&M or Notre Dame?
Yeah, I just spoke on the phone with Jamie Game, a Notre Dame guy, about this game, and they seem kind of optimistic up there, but to me, the Irish depth chart has like 2 or 3 freshmen on the offensive line and a bunch of young guys. Just knowing the talent on A&M's defensive line, I think that's going to be the decisive factor. So I am leaning A&M. I think it's going to be a low-scoring slog. It may be like if one team throws a pick six or has a special teams miscue, that's the whole game kind of contest. But I feel like the fundamentals of just that matchup between the A&M D line and the Irish O line to me that feels like the most lopsided, indecisive one.
You boys got any thoughts on this one way or the other?
I've got the under.
Do you? All right.
Yeah, I got that early this summer. I got 50.5. I think it's down to 46. So I feel good about that.
Yeah.
So Notre Dame, if you bet them, you're getting +3. So that's not bad. And Ian's exactly right about the mismatch in the lines, but it cuts both ways. Notre Dame's got good defensive linemen, and A&M's O-line, based on camp reports, is not coming together, to put it mildly. They also don't have a number 1 wide receiver, which is something I actually pointed out in my prospectus. And that's going to give them problems all year if you can cover. Guess what Notre Dame can do? They can cover. So I think points and yards may be hard to come by, particularly as both teams adjust. And, Riley Leonard is a guy you can prep for, and Elko coaching him is a bigger advantage to Elko than it is Leonard knows Elko. But Leonard's main superpower is his ability to improvise, and you can't really coach against that super well. And also, Leonard is hard to get on the ground. He's a strong, kind of powerful guy, and he gets moving and gets running and gets his momentum up. He can drop a 50, 60-yard run on you if you lose contain. So that may be how Notre Dame gets some cheap points, or maybe it'll come on an interception, pick six, maybe special teams. But I think this game will be kind of tight and nail-biting. And I just think the team, I hate to be this guy, but the team that makes the fewest mistakes is probably going to win.
Whoa.
Yeah, I know.
Real insight.
That level of insight.
Brian's perspectives, everyone.
Eric,
what an advertisement for my insight.
We have obviously we have a recent addition in the running back room. I know this has been covered very thoroughly at InsideTexas.com. So for that thorough answer, George, I recommend that you go there. But just in a really simple way of maybe describing it, what can we expect? How good is our new running back from SMU?
Hoping to see him a lot in the fourth quarter. Just guy that's going to eat pitches in the middle innings is like I like to describe it. Middle reliever, keeps your other guys fresh. Prevents you from catastrophic situation if somebody else's gets hurt as well. They're too thin, only having 3 scholarship running backs. So not expecting a big game breaker. Him to be a game breaker. You can see that he didn't have great production at his first 2 stops, so it would be weird to suggest he'll have big production here. But it's about as good as you could expect to do that late before the season.
I wanted to get to this because mainly it's a promo for the deep dive that's coming out with Paul and Ian later on. But I did want to throw this at you. I mean, obviously, I don't expect you to totally go too in deep. That's what deep dive is for. But how do you think specifically the mesh routes and the pick routes CSU will run are going to be accounted for? Obviously, we are throwing into consideration the Houston game last year, which was a bit of a nail biter. It didn't need to be.
It really comes down to linebacker play and coverage, defending concepts like that. A lot of those are all about how you cover the running back out of the backfield, and then how you trade receivers over the middle, whether or not you have help inside from your linebackers that's timely and violent, or if they are lost and covering grass. I mean, that's a good thing to look for, honestly, because they don't have Jalen Ford anymore. And it sounds like Anthony Hill has come a ways in coverage, but I mean, he was dropped to a spot and kind of look around and wonder what to do last year. So that should be a great test. I don't know how well they'll do. Hopefully well.
Any thoughts on this, Paul? I know, again, this is something that will be covered much more thoroughly.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of already did. So
yeah.
Football, good name, football.
Yeah, I think I'd be watching Colorado State trying to defend mesh. They got a linebacker, Chase Wilson, that I hear is pretty slow-footed, better versus the run than he is the pass. I think Texas has a chance to get a lot of yards there.
Yeah, if you want to do a little bit more on this football, go watch the roundtable that LC and I recorded together a week ago.
Yeah, maybe
I talk about this specific issue. So for all of you talking about that or wondering about that, you can go get the answer, and I'll actually break it down and show you the routes, and I'll show you the Houston game and what happened and what we need to do differently. So the answer is we're about to find out. We don't know.
Ian, again, one of your favorite subjects here is obviously the University of Oklahoma. What are your thoughts on their depth chart right now? I know that this is obviously a Texas site, but I just really love your insights on the University of Oklahoma. You speak with such a passion, a fervor, one might say. So I'm curious what your thoughts are on the Sooners depth chart.
Do you know who loves my takes on the Sooners? Are the Sooner fans.
Do they?
Yeah, they eat it up. They're always talking about it.
Well, and Ian, you need to point out to our audience that one of the great benefits of joining Inside Texas is that you get to read other fans' boards. You get membership to the Sooner board in a sense, and at least you can read what they're saying about us and about recruiting and about everything. And sometimes their perspectives, as dumb as they are often also interesting and informative.
They have an entire thread on Sooner Scoop called "Ian is a bleeping dumb bleep." Mega thread comedy hour, something like that. I can't remember. There's something close to that.
We have a private text chain with the same title, but that's neither here nor there.
Yeah, Ian's not on that one though.
No.
He's not.
Anyway, the Sooner depth chart. What stood out to me is that the 2 starting defensive tackles are a true freshman, and Demonic Williams, the TCU transfer. So both those players seem like they might be solid, but that is just a tough look going into the SEC, where you know that everyone is just going to come right downhill at you and make you prove you can stop it. And your answer out the gate is a freshman and the TCU guy. To me, this is a big question for them this season, other than the obvious questions about replacing the entire offensive infrastructure.
Eric, and this is back to the recruiting question. I know we're further along in the season in terms of recruiting, but still relatively early. What spots are remaining to be filled in this recruiting class, but obviously besides D-line?
Well, they like another wide receiver. Jamie French announces Friday, 5-star out of Jacksonville, Florida. Texas is looking good there. I expect Texas to beat Miami and LSU for his services. Going to really break a lot of LSU hearts, they think, because they've got such a rich tradition with wide receiver there that translates to Brian Kelly being better than Steve Sarkisian. But I don't think that's going to hold up. You got Michael Terry, who could announce, he doesn't really have a set date. Could be before the season, could be early season. We're not quite sure. Steve Wiltfong from On3 put in an RPM for Terry today. I put one in for him right after he took his official visit. We like Texas's chance there. Both those guys are 5 stars, offensive players. Very good. They're going to need another DB or 2. Definitely another safety and probably 2 more corners. That's another position to watch out, and they could use another linebacker as well. There's still plenty of intrigue. They're done at offensive line, done at running back. For all intents and purposes, I think they're done at wide receiver. Offense is pretty well stocked. They got a couple tight ends. Defense is where the intrigue lies. Defensive backs, linebacker, and of course, maybe even another edge. But yeah, there's a long way to go on defense. But I think it's going to work out for Texas. You're going to like the class when it's all said and done. Might have been a bumpy road to get there, but like I said, when Texas is back is against the wall and they really have to come through and land guys, they tend to do so.
What, Ian? This is you're now living in Austin. Will you be at the game with Joe this weekend?
Not this one. Certainly some of the other ones. I'll be up in Michigan. Maybe
pre-scouting.
Are we all going? No, not this. Are we all going to the Michigan game in 2 weeks?
I would like to go to the games.
Eric was, I think it was a corporate thing. He was sending me a ticket. I've been moving around, so I probably haven't got the ticket yet. But yeah, is everybody else going?
Joe, Will Gallagher, and Ian. I know a ton of our subscribers. It's gonna be a good time.
Oh, this you paid for the subscribers to go to? Okay.
Yeah, when Texas plays Rutgers, we'll get you.
Great.
What trashy town is Rutgers in?
Brunswick, one of the Brunswicks. I think it's the new one.
It's the new one.
It's the new one. Yeah. East Brunswick, not a great place. Okay. Well, that's good to know. Thank you. I appreciate the our team update. That's going to do a good one for my soul. What do we got here? What's this guy say? I can't see it, guys. It's too small.
Are you kidding me? Glad I subscribed. We're gonna have to get you bigger glasses.
I can't see it.
You're gonna look like that famous guy in the meme where his head's tilted back and his eyes are real big.
I'm telling y'all, it's brutal. All right. Well, yeah, thank you. Thank you for subscribing to this wonderful site. We've got lots of great opportunities to offer you such insight as the team that makes less mistakes. They're probably going to do good in the game. All right, guys. Any more questions you've got coming in? We know that now Ian will not be at the game, which that answers Roaster's question there. Any closing thoughts for you, Ian? Going in, this is our first week, so it's game week. Nope. Okay. I think hold on. I'm going to ask you a question here. And then I'm going to step back and my hands are not going to be anywhere near the screen because Ian has learned. He's conditioned here. So
LC
Paul,
could use something else.
Paul,
Touch a
Paul
key.
had your son had a game this weekend. How did it go, Paul?
They won 2-0 on a safety.
Oh my God.
That's right.
So a tremendous defensive struggle, which featured them having 4th down on the other team's 1-inch line, and they went 4 wide and snapped it in shotgun and fumbled. And then that created the safety so that the OC was playing chess there. But yeah, it was a wonderful defensive struggle.
Well, that's got it. And what position does your son play?
He plays tight end and defensive end.
Oh, that's very exciting. All right. Well, thank you all. We appreciate you saving it. Use the promo code Kickoff24. You're going to get 50% off the annual rate. So please do that. That's only $4.99 a month. It's a great deal. We appreciate you being here. We got a lot of content coming up this week. Obviously, throughout the season, things are going on. So please like, subscribe, hit that bell so you know when new things are coming out. And we will see you this week.